All right, everybody, welcome to the Daily Power Parsha Palooza Extravaganza. It is great to see you all, and I'm excited to study with you. So we have a really cool conversation today. I think it's very cool. And it is about another form of tzaras. If you can imagine, there are so many forms of tzaras that the Torah speaks of, and today we're going to encounter one that we've only spoken very briefly about previously, but we haven't explored inside the text. So I'm pulling up the text right now. I'm about to share my screen with you so that we can all study this together. Share screen. Here we go. Torah reading. Boom. Okay. Tell me if you see that. Y'all got it? Okay. Remember, once again, we have a double portion, Tazria-Metzora, 2 for the price of 1. Buy one, get one, a little BOGO action on this Torah reading. So today is Thursday, so it's day number 5, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so we're exploring now the 5th reading. As you can see, the 5th is highlighted as blue. That's what's selected. And we're going to explore a brand new conversation. Actually, what I want to do today is scratch that. We're going to go a little bit out of order because I want to speak about the laws of tzaras on houses. This is really important. Okay, so we're going to actually pick it up with the 6th reading of the double readings, which is from Leviticus chapter 14, verse number 33. Okay, as you know, as we've discussed, a person could get tzaras on their body, they could get it on their hair, they could get it on their beard, maybe that's a way to convince themselves that they're not getting white hairs. No, maybe it's tzaras, maybe the Kohen can help. No, man, just for men. I mean, seriously. Remember the hair product in the bottle? Yes? Okay, fine. So you could get tzaras in different places. You could also get tzaras on your clothing, on the garments, and on the home. So let's talk about home tzaras, the home edition. Let's speak about that right now. Okay, I'm going to read verse number 34. I've just highlighted it, and it's such an interesting verse. Okay, God says, the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, when you come to the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as a possession, and I place a legion of tzaras upon a house in the land of your possession. So God is kind of laying out the scenario. Remember, the Jews are living in tents in the wilderness, in the desert. It was a very intense life. That was a joke. They were living in tents. So God is saying, when you go into the land of Canaan, which will become the land of Israel, when you enter that land and you get a house, mazel tov, right? You get a house, you get a mortgage, you get all that stuff. What's going to happen? You're going to get tzaras on your house, right? When you come into the land and I place a legion of tzaras. Okay, let's continue. 35. And the one to whom the house belongs comes and tells the Kohen, saying, something like a legion has appeared to me in the house. What do I do? So, verse 36 tells us what should happen. The Kohen shall order that they clear out the house before the Kohen comes in to look at the house, before the Kohen comes to look at the legion, so that everything in the house should not become unclean. After this, the Kohen shall come to look at the house. Let me explain. If the Kohen comes to the house and says, I'm sorry to tell you, but you have tzaras on your house, guess what happens? Every item inside the house, the couch and the sofa and the love seat and the chase, is that a thing? Chase? Yeah, is that a thing? Okay. The bedroom furniture, the dining room furniture, the bookshelves, the kitchenware, the kitchen utensils, the oven, the burners, the stovetop, the range, all different synonyms for the same thing. Everything in the house, everything, the copies of Reader's Digest, everything becomes, and it's deemed officially by the Kohen to have tzaras, you're done. I mean, you're not done, but everything in the house is impure, and therefore it would all need ritual impurity. Now, I want to tell you this. Go dunk your flat screen TV, your 80-inch flat screen, go dunk it in a mikveh and then come back to me. You don't want to do that. So therefore, the Torah says, good advice, get rid of all the stuff. Yard sale. I'm kidding, you don't have to get rid of it. Move it out of the physical house, and then the Kohen comes in. And then when the Kohen comes in, even if the Kohen says, Tameh, it's impure, it only triggers from then on, and if nothing's in the house, you're all clear. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so again, the Torah is giving us good advice. Clear out the house. After this, the Kohen shall come to look at the house. Now, let's continue. Verse 37. Whoa, it's a lot of verses. And he shall look at the lesion on the house. Now, if the lesion in the walls of the house consists of a dark green or dark red, sunken-looking stains, appearing as if deeper than the wall, then the Kohen shall go out of the house to the entrance. My apologies, hold on. Okay, let me try that again. Verse 38. Then the Kohen shall go out of the house to the entrance of the house, and he shall quarantine the house for 7 days. And then he should come back on the 7th day. If it's spread, okay, let's do verse 39. Then the Kohen shall return on the 7th day and look at the house. Now, if the lesion has spread in the walls of the house, in other words, it's growing, right? Is it mold? No, it's tzaras. This is what's going on, right? So if it spreads, what do? Verse 40. This is important. Verse 40. The Kohen shall order that they remove the stones upon which the lesion is found, and they shall cast them away outside the city to an unclean place. Verse 41. And he shall scrape out the house from the inside all around, and they shall pour out the mortar dust from what they scraped outside the city into an unclean place. And verse 42, and they shall take other stones, i.e. clean stones, and bring them instead of those stones, and he shall take other mortar dust and plaster the house. Basically, it's a little bit of demo action going on, a little demolition, right? You look at the afflicted stones. This could be interior walls, right? Let's talk about interior walls. You see some tzaras action going on. The Kohen says, yeah, it might be. You quarantine it for 7 days. It's growing. Boom. You got to pop out those stones, and you got to pop in some new stones. You got to remove the old stones. Now, the reason why I wanted to make sure to share this with you is because it's the only way to understand the spiritual message here. If once you have the whole picture, then we can now dig in. I don't know if that's the right term in this context. Dig in, dig out, whatever, the spiritual meaning. So, here's what I want to say. I want to ask a question. The opening preamble here is God says, when you come into the land of Canaan, which I'm giving to you as a possession, and I place a legion of tzaras, right, then this is what should happen. Kind of sounds like, at first glance, that God is telling us this is going to happen. Not like if a person did something wrong, then they get afflicted, then this is what you should do. But no, God is saying, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. I'm giving it to you. Why? Why does it sound like God is kind of predicting that this is going to happen? What, God doesn't have faith in us that we can't keep the gossip on the down low? Like, what's going on here? God's like, it's going to happen. The house are going to get afflicted. This is what you should do. Why is God so certain that this is going to happen? And what does it all mean? I want to share with you the classic explanation from our sages. And I believe it's found in Rashi's commentary. So let's show Rashi's commentary right here. Here we go. Take a look. I think I might want to make this screen just a wee tad bigger. Oh, does this work? Okay. Take a look-see at this Rashi that I'm about to highlight. Okay, right there, that one. God says, and I place a legion of tsaras. In the Hebrew, the word is vinasati, which literally means, and I will give. And I will give. Not I will place a legion of tsaras, but I'm giving it to you. It's like a gift. It's like a matana. It's like a gift. Mazel tov. On your new home, here's some tsaras for you. What's going on? Why is this a gift? Take a look at what Rashi says, quoting Vayikra Rabbah, quoting the Medrash. This is good news for them, that legions of tsaras will come upon them. Why? Because, get this is mind-blowing, because the Amorites, in Hebrew they're called the Emori, not the Emory. That's something else. That's a different university. These are the Emori, the Amorites. It's one of the nations that lived in Israel before the Jewish people did. Because the Amorites had hidden away treasures of gold inside the walls of their houses during the entire 40 years that the Israelites were in the desert. And through the legion, he will demolish the house and find them. Get this. The nations that lived in Canaan before the Jewish people came in, they knew the prophecy, they knew the promise, they knew what God had told Abraham hundreds of years earlier. They knew the promise that God said to Abraham, to your descendants I will give this land. They know the promise that God gave to Isaac, to your descendants I will give this land. They know the promise that was given to Jacob, to your descendants I will give this land. Everybody knew that at a certain point in time, the Jews would come back into the land of Israel, the land of Canaan, the land of Israel. All the nations, there were 7 nations living there, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, etc., the Perizzites, the Jebusites, all of the nations, the people there, they knew that the Jews were a-coming. And when the Jews were slaves in Egypt, they had nothing to worry about. They were safe and secure. But as soon as the Exodus happened, they knew it was only a matter of time before the Jewish people begin their march toward the Holy Land. And they began to prepare. How did they prepare? They did different things. They fortified their cities. They built fortresses. They trained in battle. And they hid their money. They hid their money in the walls, thinking that if the Jews come in, or when the Jews come in and begin kind of taking over the land, they're going to start some battles. Maybe they'll have to leave their homes for a little bit. They'll fight some wars, and then they will come back. They'll be victorious. That's what they believe. They'll be victorious. They'll come back into their homes, and they'll dig out their gold once again to enjoy it. That was their plan. That was their long-term plan. Hide the gold, go to war, go to battle, come back, enjoy the gold. Well, it didn't work out exactly, because the Jewish people were blessed by God in war and battle, and they were victorious, and they conquered the land of Israel, as was promised again centuries earlier to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to the patriarchs. And so what happened was the Jews who settled the land and lived in these homes had no idea that there was gold buried in the walls. How would they know? What, they're going around with one of those metal detectors like on the beach? Beep, beep. Remember those things? Yeah? Do people still use those things? Yeah? Seems like a cool product to have. Anyway, but the Jews didn't have that. So they weren't going around there. I'm giving you good news. Here's the good news. I'm going to hit your houses with tsaras. And you're going to follow the protocol. And the protocol says remove the stones. And when you remove the stones, guess what's going to happen? You're going to see the gold right there. They used to build the homes with kind of like a double wall, right? Stone, a little bit of space, and more stone. So you would take out a stone, hide what you needed to hide, and then replaster it in. When the Jews removed the inner stones, guess what? They looked inside the holes that were opened up, and they saw the treasure, the buried treasure. Gewaldic, it's incredible. And they were enriched. So far from being a punishment or a negative thing, this was a positive thing. Now, all of this, you might say, evokes an even stronger question. Forget about the grammar of the verse, why God says it's going to happen, or why does God say, I'm giving it to you, which implies that it's something good. We've answered that question. But now we have another question. We know that tzaras comes from speaking negatively about others. So hold on. Are you telling me that somebody who commits an indiscretion, someone who's gossiping, doing something not so kosher, right, according to Torah, that person gets rewarded with treasure? What's up with that? Right? Again, play out the scenario. Here's a person who's doing something wrong and is getting punished, but what we're saying is you should know they're gonna get wealthy. How does that make sense? So here is the big reveal. This is the big idea. The big idea is that in life there is a general mystical or spiritual principle known as Yerida Letzorech Aliyah, which means that every descent down is intended for an aliyah, for an ascent upward. In other words, life is a series of ups and downs, but this is what our tradition teaches us, that every down is only intended for a greater rebound. That's the only reason why there's a down, in order to go up even higher than before. I'll give you an example, very simple example. If you take a rubber band and you wish to, I don't know what you call it, shoot it at something. No, you shouldn't shoot it at someone, but you want to fling it through the air. What do? You have to first pull it back. If you have a bow and arrow, Lag BaOmer is coming up, the holiday of the bow and arrow. So if you have a bow and arrow, you want to shoot the arrow, what do? You pull the arrow toward yourself. You first pull back and then you release, right? A runner, a hurdler, somebody that's running over, jumping over a hurdle. What do? You take a few steps back and then you do the jump. So I'll ask you a question in all three scenarios, the rubber band, the bow and arrow, the runner. The observer might say, are you meshuggah? If you want to go that way, why are you going the other way? Why are you going backwards first? Doesn't make any sense. You want to shoot the rubber band that way, why are you pulling back? You want to shoot the arrow, why are you pulling back? You want to jump forward, why are you running backwards? And the answer is, because oftentimes, to go forward, you need to go backwards. To go up, you need to go down. Right? The way a rocket launches into outer space is with thrust. It pushes down on the earth, and that's what pushes it up. It pushes down, and that's what launches it upwards. And so this expresses the great idea of the spiritual idea of the Yerida Letzorech Aliyah, the descent that's intended for the ascent. God does not make mistakes in his world. And if there seems to be a moment of descent, a moment in which things are not so good, we have to know this. Our faith, our tradition teaches this. It is not by mistake. It is not by accident. It is absolutely intended by divine providence, by divine guidance, in order for there to be a greater rebound. Now, am I saying that this justifies suffering and pain? I'm not going to go that far. What I'm saying is, challenges and setbacks, you and I, let's not talk about global events right now. You and I in our own lives, you have a choice. I have a choice. When I experience a setback, I can view it either as, this is terrible, this is horrible, this is, I'm a victim, I'm defeated, and that's it, and close up shop. Or I can look at it as an opportunity to strengthen myself and work even harder. Right? That's the way it is in life. We have the choice how to view setbacks, either as obstacles or as opportunities. It's our choice. And Judaism teaches, view it as an opportunity. View it as a springboard for the next great ascent, and if you view it that way, you're more likely to make it happen than if you view it as an objective setback. So that is, right, do we look at it as one door closing or another one opening, like the famous cliche? It's not a cliche, it's a fact in life. If you and I are more open to viewing descents as the only way for the next descent, then we're more likely to see that ascent as opposed to getting stuck in the downward spin. But here's the big idea. That was like the first part of the big idea. Here's the real big idea. This is true not just with the stuff that God sends our way, this is true with our own mistakes. I'm going to say that one more time because this is a very important point. This is not only true with the stuff that God sends our way, that we can be sure that no matter what it is, even if it looks like a downward spin, it's really meant for something greater. It's also true when it comes to our own choices. In other words, a person makes a bad choice and gets negative consequences, right? You messed up and now it hurts. Comes along the Torah and the Torah tells us, and Kabbalah spells this out, and Torah tells us you should know, even in a situation where you messed up, and because of that there were negative consequences, there's an upside there as well. But what do you mean? I created that scenario. If God created it, we can believe that everything that comes from God is ultimately for the good. That's one measure of belief. But you're telling me that even if I mess up, deviating from God's plan, I mess up, and therefore I face the consequences, you're telling me that there's still a positive? That's exactly what I'm telling you. A person chose to speak negatively about someone else. A person is therefore punished, or the consequences, the tsaras, the affliction on the home. And as a result, they got wealthy. That's the point. Even when it was a personal choice, even when we made a mistake, there's still a way out and a way up. And not only is there a way out and a way up, but we need to believe that the only reason why we made that mistake, we know why we make mistakes, because we have all sorts of temptations, desires, and weaknesses. But on a deeper level, we should realize that the only reason why human beings in general have the capacity to make mistakes is in order to make a mistake and to fall, but then to get back up stronger than before. That's the whole reason for it. The entire reason why God created imperfect human beings is to fall, to get back up stronger than before. Because there's a strength in getting back up that you can never have if you've never fallen in the first place. There's a strength in the rebound. There's a strength in the ascent from the down, from the depths, that is just, it's get that flight in the air with the rubber band or the arrow without first pulling it back. That's the law. For some reason, that's the way God chose to create the laws of the universe. And so the same thing is with us. Not only are the challenges that God sends us an opportunity, but even the self-induced challenges, even the things that we do ourselves to mess ourselves up, so to speak, they too are a springboard and can be a springboard for much, much, much greater success and riches, both spiritual and even literal. So again, we have this is the one idea I wanted to share today. Involves a few different pieces, but it's one major core, and that is, in life, we all experience challenges, and we all experience setbacks, and we all experience disappointments, and some come from others or come from God. Some are external and some are internal. Some are self-created. The Torah's message is, whatever it is, whatever scenario, whether it happened to you or whether you did it to yourself, let bygones be bygones. And the question is, right now, where is the treasure? Right now, what's the treasure that I can find where we are, where I am in this situation? I've fallen. Maybe I've been tripped. Maybe I tripped myself up. It doesn't matter. Now I'm on the ground, right? What can I find? What treasure can I find? What is the aliyah? What is the payoff from this experience? To just have a setback and not have and ascent from there, that seems like a waste of time, right? Just to go down and not get back up, that seems like a waste, right? It's a missed opportunity. What can I find? What treasure is buried behind this wall? As soon as I break it open, what am I going to find? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. All right, so in short, we learned today about tsaras that appears on homes, on houses, and God is saying, I'm going to give it to you, and it's going to be a gift. And our question was, what's the gift? We answered, based on Rashi and based on the Midrash, that the gift was the treasure, literal treasure, gold, that was hidden in the walls before the Jewish people entered the land of Israel, hidden away by the nations that lived there prior. And we said through tsaras, through that whole experience, a person would find that wealth by opening up the stones of their home and find the riches. And we brought out a spiritual and psychological and contemporary message that this is true in life. Whether a challenge comes to us or whether we create our own challenge, it doesn't make a difference. There's always gold at the end of that rainbow. There's always gold at the end of that cloud or inside that wall. It's about digging and finding, but never look at a challenge as just a challenge and that's it. I survived the challenge, that's enough. It's not about survival. It's about getting enriched because of it. If you're not getting, just wealthy, I don't mean only physically, I mean on every level, because of a challenge, then we're not doing it right. We're not doing the challenge right. It's meant to literally lead to a breakthrough. So let's find the breakthrough. First of all, we don't ask for challenges, right? And we hope not to create our own challenges. We hope not to get in our own way. But when we find ourselves in a situation of challenge, let's find an incredible opportunity. Look, I'll just be very, very open here with myself. And I stopped sharing the screen now. When all this hit and shelter in place, it's obviously very, very jarring. I'm sure I can speak for everyone else, but I can just speak for myself. It's very jarring and very, very. I don't know. There's a lot of things that come along with that notion. What's the world going to look like? Are we going to be safe? And the family, the wife, and the kids. There's a lot of stuff that you think about. And of course, part of what I think about was the classes. What's going to happen with the classes, and with the learning. And thank God, there's technology which we're using right now. I'll just speak about this one area. There are other treasures that I found in this process in the last month or so, that on a personal level, but I'll just be relating to the study in the community. I don't think I've done as many classes every day. Well, I can't, I don't know, maybe that's an overstatement, but this has given me the opportunity to have this class, right, a shorter class, which I've mentioned before, that this is an incredible opportunity, but this has opened up the door to this class, this format, online together, everyone from the comfort of their homes. That simply we weren't doing before. Now, why weren't we doing it before? The technology existed, right? But the wall hadn't been broken, at least for me and at least for us on that level. But you find yourself in a challenge, and you get scrappy, and you find something, and there's a breakthrough. And the breakthrough is more opportunities and more platforms to study and to be inspired and to connect with each other. So look, that's, again, one small example. That's like low-hanging fruit example of what it means to be in a challenge and yet to find the treasure. A little bit harder is to find situations and scenarios like tsaras where we Mark, yeah, good. Mark just texted me on the chat here. Necessity is the mother of invention. Exactly. It's being in a situation of kind of not ideal maybe, that leads to the breakthrough. The next level is if we can find that even when we ourselves put ourselves in a difficult situation. In other words, if we can experience that leap up, even when not when something happens to us, but even when we kind of make mistakes. Or do we say, I made a mistake, whoops, I feel bad about it, and whatever? You should feel bad about it, okay? But now let's look at the opportunity. Okay, you made the mistake, so you're right where you are right now, and maybe you shouldn't have been there, but you are there right now. What do we do right now? What is a unique opportunity that only the mistake that you made could have led to? You couldn't have done this without making that mistake. That's what I'm talking about. That's the treasure that comes from tzaras. That's the tzaras treasure. That's a deep level of opening up the wall and finding the treasure. That's kind of deep. All right. So with this, I'll ask you to feel free to unmute yourselves. What I wanted to share is pretty much wrapped up. So any questions?